A very warm welcome to this World Game Changers podcast, where your host, Paul D. Lowe, embraces many crucial conversations that compassionately contribute towards creating a better life and world. Paul's intention is very simple: to help get people's inspirational insights and motivational messages out into the world so others may benefit.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this World Game Changers podcast episode. My name is Rebecca. I am very honoured to be one of the directors of World Game Changers, and I'm joined today by Paul Lowe. Paul is usually the host of the podcast. So Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much indeed, Mom.
So I am the director of a leg. So a leg is a life enhancing goal. And we thought today we would dive into that specific leg and just kind of see where it takes us, really. So the leg is called awareness raising and mindful communication. Any thoughts, Paul, initially?
Awareness raising and mindful communication. I was going to say miners communication. Would that be a coal miner or a person that's a junior disposition? So thoughts. Awareness raising. For me, awareness is the starting point for all that we do in life. You know, we go on any journey or we do anything, we need to be aware of what we're doing, our starting point. And I'll give you a very simple example. So, I don't know, plan a journey from London to Edinburgh. How can you plan that journey unless you're actually aware of where you are, which way you're facing, you know, what's your route? And it's the same. That's a great metaphor, I feel, for life. You know, how can we progress in anything? You know, go into the kitchen and make a cup of tea. We need to be aware of where we are and everything around us. And that is the starting point for progressing. So we raise awareness, and then the mindful communication is how we convey literally how we communicate with each other. So rather than just kind of giving instructions, there's this whole kind of empathy that takes it to another level. I think Stephen Covey summed it up in one of his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People when he said, seek first to understand and then be understood. So be very mindful of how we communicate, the tonality. I know we did this in a previous podcast episode between us where we spoke around the equation of words being kind of 7%. And I stress, listeners, this is not an exact science, but it's certainly a very good guide. The 7% are words, the 38% is made up of the tonality, and the 55%, the remaining 55%, is made up of the physiology, our gestures, our body language, our cues, our non-verbal communication, if you will. So I think all that comes into play when we're talking about mindful communication.
Yeah. There's a lot there. And I think it's going back to the awareness raising. What brought to my mind is, we've spoken about the goldfish bowl before and kind of being in the goldfish bowl, and a fish doesn't necessarily know it's in water. It just doesn't. So what you don't know. And so that awareness, being aware of being aware, is kind of a very first step. And then it also, as you were speaking, came to my mind about intentions. I know we kind of spoke about intentions as well, but so, going on a journey and knowing where you're going and also why, and having that intention to be able to kind of anchor your route or guide you in that direction. So yeah, and I guess intention comes into it as well in the sense of like the tonalities and the way that we communicate. But it is really important to be mindful of communication, because if we're not, it can you know, we all have messages and stories to share and things to express, and that's actually our way in which we can connect to people. Is that, yeah.
And then there's the umbrella side of all this, where we have, and I like the word intention. I absolutely believe in that, as you know, on our many, many deep dive conversations, both on and off air. There's something, listeners, that overrides all of this, though. So what Rebecca and I are talking about now is immensely useful. A leg was set up. One of 10 life-enhancing goals was set up because it's so powerful. However, there's something that overrides it all, and that's not being attached to the outcome. Because we can have that intention, we can create that strategy. We can plot that journey from London to Edinburgh or whatever it may be. But things happen that we've not planned for. And this is where it's crucial within this approach not to get attached to the outcome. And I've used the saying many, many, many times before: let life happen through you, not to you. But the vast majority of us humans actually do the latter, because we want to control. We want to control the situation, because we create this whole story around what the outcome will be. We go to a football match expecting our team to win 8-0 or whatever. And then when they lose 1-0, we're distraught because it hasn't matched our expectation. Rather than just going to a game and saying, well, the result will be what the result will be, and I'm going to enjoy the game either way. And I just use this example of a football supporter because it's one that's been very prevalent in my early life, where, my team Forest are top of the league and they're playing bottom of the league. This is a definite win today. Okay, didn't happen. Where did that come from? And then all the excuses: we was robbed and the referee needs glasses and all this kind of justification stuff that we cling to. So there is this massive, massive paramount need for having awareness raising. Absolutely, 100%. But I'd put then another thing on the end of it to say, but don't get attached to the outcome either, and learn to surrender. Now, there's a word, Rebecca: surrender. What does that conjure up to you?
I think about surrender a lot, and it is actually one that I find at times I kind of struggle with the idea of it, and then at times I really, really get it. And for me, I feel like it is surrendering to the ultimate awareness that of the bigger picture, that life is this mystery, this, there are things at play that we will never understand, and I don't think it's actually our we don't need to understand. I don't think that's the point. But for me, what it conjures up is, not surrendering in the sense that you're just going to sit back and do nothing and, okay, well, whatever happens kind of thing. But surrendering in the sense that, I have intentions, I have dreams, I have goals. I'm going to, I have a calling. I want to contribute. I want to, have a destiny, a purpose, and then taking the action to what you feel called towards to do, setting that intention. And as you say, letting go of the expectation, I feel like that's part of that surrender in a sense, but just that full surrender to know that even in all the action taking and all of the things that we do as humans, ultimately we don't have that control. There is a sense that, I guess that just that the universe in its entirety is too great for us to comprehend. So surrendering to that mystery is what I guess I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I get it. And if we can make it even more kind of granular than that and bring it back to ourselves, it is this trap that we have called the ego, that I know best. This is going to happen. This is what I want. This is what I think, blah, 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 blah. And then it doesn't pan out that way and we get upset. Hence my own wording around let life happen through you rather than to you. Because if you imagine, let's use the analogy of say a boxer. A boxer just stands there and gets hit. Is letting life happen to him because he's just standing there and whatever's coming his way, he's taking it, or she. And of course, he's going to get hurt and he's going to get damaged. Whereas the alternative is to keep moving with the vibrancy and the energy of the waves of the universe, of life as it's unfolding. And if you like, ducking those metaphoric punches because you're in flow. This is the kind of principles of Tai Chi with the energy. They're deflecting that negative energy. And that's, for me, yet again, is a great way of explaining that, keep on the move. Keep on the move. Be in, motion creates emotion. But being able to kind of witness this. So, when we look at a screen and see a film, and rather than kind of be that character in the film where, okay, he or she got killed, so he or she was a victim. No, we are the observer. We're the observer. And that's very much the way that we play out life. We're playing a part in a particular scene. So today it might be raining and I go outside and I get wet because I've got an umbrella. So the part I'm playing in the film at this moment in time is the wet man, for want of a better, there might be a film title in that. Who knows? You heard it first, listeners here. So if there is, I'm copywriting it. And then, so being aware of it raining, I can take an umbrella and I can become the dry man. Yet again, I'm claiming copyright.
New Hollywood,
yeah,
smash hit.
But either way, what I am is I'm actually I'm the director of the film. I'm not the guy that's getting wet or dry. And I think too many of us, and I speak about myself. In fact, let me retract that statement because that's connotations of judgment around too many of us. So what I'm doing there, Rebecca, I'm aware of my language, and I'm mindfully communicating.
Yes.
To say, sorry, listeners, I was judging you then by saying all of us, most of us. Well, I've got no right to say that. But that brings in we're going down so many rabbit holes here, which is not unusual for you and I. But that brings in the question of conditioning, doesn't it? The things that we've learned. And so when we talk about awareness raising, and mindful communication, maybe our first part of that journey is to use another metaphor, listeners, is to peel back the layers of the onion. Because as we're, from a young child, we're kind of like a blank piece of paper. God, I'm splitting so many metaphors here. English teachers would be pulling their hair out. But we're like onions, and as the years go by, we put on another layer and another layer and another layer, called protection against the outside world of what we think is happening. What we think is happening. It's fear-based, it's fear-driven thinking. And so, to then reach a stage where actually this story I'm telling myself is absolute garbage and it does not serve me. So then we go on that reciprocal process of peeling back those onion layers. And what happens when you peel back an onion? It can make you cry. And I feel that's a great metaphor because we can find it painful to be in this, what we think is a comfort zone of X or Y or Z, this self-protection around our identity, our expectations, our ego, etc., etc. And then to actually face the reality that I'm not that personality. I'm not that script. But that's kind of, for me, that is the epitome of awareness raising. And then when we go on that journey of self-inquiry, self-discovery, it's not being attached to the outcome, as I've said previously. Bit of a mouthful there. How did we end up going down that road?
Well, there's so many pieces there that I kind of want to touch upon. At the beginning of that, you said around like always moving. And I think that's really important, like always making a decision and keeping in that flow. And because otherwise we can get stagnant. And that's also kind of, that what you're talking about, when you get a bit stuck in a rut in the cycles, like the loops of what you tell yourself, and it can become such a habit and such a part of your identity. And then it's as you say, when you peel back those layers, it can be really painful to let go, because it's kind of like a death, like you're kind of letting go of a part of you that you feel was you, but it's actually not you. And if you can just have the faith and the trust to let go of that and kind of jump into the unknown, if you like, of trusting that you will be reborn in a way that's more I guess true, because you're letting go of a part of you that's not serving you and that's not actually who you are. But it's, I mean, I can definitely relate to clinging on to those, but that brings in the awareness. If you don't know that you're doing it, you just keep on doing it, and you just keep on that cycle.
Yeah. And oftentimes as well, when people are aware of it, they still keep on doing it, because that's wrapped up in the cliche, but better the devil you know. Toothache is a prime example of exactly what we're talking about. If I had a penny or a euro or whatever, every time I've heard this, I've got toothache. Okay, go to the dentist. And then they say to me, oh, stop moaning. I'm the one that's got to stop moaning. I haven't moaned about the toothache, by the way, but oh, stop moaning. It'll be all right tomorrow. I'll take an Anodin, or I'll take an aspirin, or whatever. It'll go away. Better the devil, because you know what these dentists are like. Oh, it's so painful. And it's like they put up with it. It's like, yet again, at the risk of splitting metaphors, it's like the pebble in the shoe. Oh, do you know what? I've got this pebble in my shoe and I'll walk around with, well, take out the pebble then. No, it's been with me all these years.
Yeah. How funny is that? Yeah.
Yeah. And when we go and dive in across to the 6 human needs, there's actually significance in victimhood.
Yeah.
There's actually, I mean, it's non-serving, but there again, in terms of raising awareness, unless we realize there's an alternative, which is far healthier, far more, even probably I need to go on a course of awareness raising about use of the English language, listeners. But yeah, so I mean, what if so all of a sudden, as you say, Rebecca, you are the director of that first leg, awareness raising and mindful communication. Just a few simple words. Who'd have thought that it could be the basis of such a rich, in my humble opinion, rich and interesting and diverse conversation such as this? I mean, there's loads to unpack just in those few simple words.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so many different pieces to it and layers to it, isn't there, that we can explore, and also in the moment, as you picked up on yourself when you were talking, and being aware of the words that you were using and having that mindful communication, in the wider context of I guess self-reflection in the moment. And that kind of is literally the epitome of awareness raising and mindful communication. Yeah. Gosh, so there's all sorts of different topics and areas that we could go down. I just wanted to actually say about the you said something a couple of minutes ago about when it just reminded me of when we're younger and we get conditioned to I've lost my train of thought now. I wanted to dive into it, but it will come back to me. It will come back to me.
Yes, they say when you get past your 30s, you have a few more senior moments. Just raising awareness, that's all I'm saying.
Perhaps.
Yeah. So any other thoughts, Rebecca, around this? I mean, the key one for me is, listeners, there's no coincidence that of the 10 legs, the life enhancing goals, that's the framework for the progression of world game changers. There's no coincidence that this is the first one. how can we possibly change anything or react upon on the other 9 legs if we're not even aware of what it is we're doing? There is no coincidence that this is the first leg. It's the foundation from which everything evolves. And you know, as a director, Rebecca, that you're aware of the other 9 legs and how your role within awareness raising and mindful communication, actually you could sit in any one, in fact indeed do sit in all of those other 9 legs. Your particular remit and your role within and your focus around awareness raising actually transcends all the other 9 as well, does it not?
Yeah, that's so true. It underpins everything by definition of what it is.
So let me ask you this then. Let me kind of, although you're the host on and today in this particular episode I'm hostless. Is this such a word? Hostless. I'm hostless.
It's always a dance, isn't it, anyway? So.
It's always, exactly. And I love what you've said there, because what that does, listeners, that strips out the hierarchy of who's in charge, because none of us are in charge. And that speaks, Rebecca, to what you said earlier on around that surrendering. Because we as humans, there again, listeners, I've just said it, we as humans, I'm making a judgment, I'm making a sweeping statement, but I'm mindfully communicating. So maybe that was a little bit deliberate just to reinforce a point. And now I've gone down a rabbit hole, which is not unusual for us. I'm going to hold it there. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because we are, raising, and isn't this what we do as humans when we talk and we get excited, and you listen to the tonality of my voice, it's like it's fairly kind of upbeat because I'm excited and I'm in high energy, and it's like this is a great conversation. The 7% of the words, I don't know what words I'm saying. The tonality, the 38% is at full pelt. My hands are going, I'm vibrant, I'm energetic, I'm emotional about this because I'm expressing all over. So it's a good dance. It's a good dance.
Yeah.
Listeners, you might not think so, but I'm certainly enjoying it.
Well, let us know, listeners. Let us know in the comments what you think.
And on that note, Rebecca, that's probably a good moment to bring this first one to a close. And, by you introducing, because we've got 1 or 2 media outlets and information points, haven't we, that our listeners can tap into?
Yes, so I would suggest to have a look at the website to find out more, which is worldgamechangers.org. So we've got various different outlets. We have a YouTube channel, so follow us on there and subscribe if you want to subscribe. We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook group, so you can always join the Facebook group. We have a newsletter as well, a monthly newsletter. So lots of different ways to get involved, and if you're curious to get involved, check us out. Check us out, worldgamechangers.org.
And something I've done previously, listeners, on more than one occasion, in fact, probably on every occasion, is signing off. A bit of awareness raising, if you will. And hopefully you feel that I'm communicating mindfully, hopefully. And it's this. Remember, the world's changing. How will you respond?
Thanks very much for listening to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to Paul at worldgamechangers.org with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the world's changing. How will you respond?